I believe there's an oil leak coming from the inside the distributor. I've done the outside O-ring. Looks like a head gasket's gone in it. Dripping onto the exhaust. Stinks. Absolutely stinks. So, for the price of £6 for a seal, a bearing, and a postage, it's worth a damn good shot. From memory, because I had the Dizzy off not that long ago, checking to see if there was oil. There was a bit of oil. Taking the plugs off, just take everything out the way. I'll do that off camera to make it a bit easier to get into here. So the little cold start fuel injector thingy. Gonna take the TPS sensor off. TPS, throttle position sensor. Yep. Gonna take the vacuum lines out, and then I'll take the bottom lead off the top of the distributor. There's 2 bolts on the distributor, and then just flip it up and over. I don't need to bother taking all them out. The other coils. Right, gonna get that in. 2 wee bolts out. They're just 8mm. And then give it a little wiggle and slide it off. So a little seal on the outside here, so make sure that stays on. You can see where those 2 bolts are there. Right, let's flip that up and out the way. So now you can see one of the bolts there, that one there, then there's one underneath, and then that should all just slip and slide out. Is also your adjustment for the setting your timing. So you might want to get like a timing gun. If not, you might want to mark or take a good note of where that is. For me, the last time I had this all off, I basically timed it myself. Just timed it by revving it, seeing if it sounded good or not. And also, just for your own sake, keep an eye on where the point is. So we're facing up towards the bolt in there. So it escalated a little bit, but yeah, pretty easy to get the throttle body kind of loose. Just needed the extra space to get in there. The bolts are super tight, and I just wanted to make sure it was going on straight. So yeah, took the throttle body off, which is just as simple as taking the air box out, and then there's 4 12mm. But I've got the bottom bolt off, and have a look at this guy, covered in oil. I think this might be our guy. Right, distributor's out. Had a bit of a faff getting the plug off, so maybe do that whilst the bolts are still in. Real question is, has it been leaking? So when I pulled it out, a lot of oil came spilling out of here. So oil definitely sits there anyways. It seems to be like a little drain bit here. And I mean, all this is covered, so I reckon it's been leaking from there anyways. So, what do we need to do now? We've got 2 Phillips heads in here. I believe this like little board here needs to come out as well. And then we need to press this pin out here on the bottom. Right, pin's out. I've got an alignment mark there, so I know which way that goes back on. Had to grab a screw, something tough. That's not too long either. Just to help push it all the rest of the way. I used one of those guys before. But yeah, so that's what I used to get it out. That wasn't too long enough, but as you can see, the little extra bit of distance pushes out the rest of the way. Cool, so that comes off now. Full of oil, funny enough. It's inside the thing. So, I believe next step is to push that out. But I'm not too sure if that's going to come out first. So, finally found the vernier caliper. It's 11.8mm. The distance that sticks out. Cool. Let's press it out. Right, save yourself a headache. Leave these bolts in and then push the shaft out. Because the bearing sits on the shaft, and it needs something to keep it in whilst you're pushing it out. So, yeah, do that. It's funny how this smells like the burning oil smell that I keep getting. Either way, I've completely destroyed that seal getting out. Once I got the shaft out. I then took out this bit here, which has got magnets on it, everything's sticking to it. I'm going to put it upside down and I just hit the bearing out from behind. With whatever's left of that screwdriver. It's a Coils 6000 RS, and then I've got that to replace it. Give the inside of there a good clean, and I'm gonna chuck it back together. So, seal goes right inside out. I'm gonna press that in with just lightly by hand, maybe a few taps if it needs it. It doesn't take much to get these in. Put a bit of engine oil on them or something just to help them go in if you want. Probably should have done that. Got the seal pressed in. Looks like it's all the way down. It's up to that groove anyways. Seem to bottom out. Don't want to hit too much just in case it folds in on itself. Next is the bearing. So that just goes in there. You can see it's enough. Might need to press this in. If you do press it in, make sure you got something flat enough to put over the top of there. You don't want to be pressing on the middle of the bearing. Once you got that in, worth checking to make sure the bearing still moves, which this one does. So back to assembling. Put everything back in the way it came out. So next up, I'm going to put that back on. Everything's back together. That distance there, it's about 11.9, which is close enough to our 11.8. So I now need to set these distances. There's a gap in there that needs to be kept very slim. So I'm going to put a bit of paper in, a bit of cardboard or something, and then tighten these down, and then hopefully that should be the points kind of set. So I've done a terrible job of explaining this again. Here is the drawing from the Toyota guidebook on how to rebuild these engines and test stuff and all that. The 2 points underneath are G1 and G2, and the points on the top with all the teeth on the cog, wheel, whatever you want to call it, is NE. So there's meant to be an air gap of 0.2 to 0.4 mil. If you've got a feeler gauge, then this is brilliant. You can get your 0.2 feeler gauge out and you can set it that way. Or if you don't have that, then paper, measure to the right thickness is a great way to do it as well. That's how I did it actually. So G1 and G2 share the same point on the rotor that they're like looking out for. So you need to turn this to either G1 or G2 pickup point, and you need to then set the feeler gap from there. And then at the same time as well as you're setting that gap for G1 or G2, you need to be setting up the gap for NE, which is the top pickup with all the teeth. So that also needs to be an air gap within 0.2 or 0.4. This is a bit fiddly, but you can do this. Once you're happy with your air gaps, you then need to tighten up the 4 bolts and then remove your paper or feeler gauges. And then you need to spin it around and then check that the air gap between G1 and G2 are equal to each other, or as equal as you can get them. It's a bit tight. Right, big jump in time progression, but it's all back together. That pin, getting that pin through there was quite a pain. Another pain was getting the alignment right in these gaps. There's a little bit sticks out. Where is it? There you go, you can see them there. And basically you had to kind of like try and even it out as best as you can from one side to the other of the little magnetic posts, and then you had to tighten up the 4 screws, and it was the same for the top one that's like underneath there basically. So it's all back together. Hopefully everything's in an alright alignment, and time to just clean up the engine bay and chuck it back in. Right, everything's back together. Left the distributor loose so as I can adjust it. Hopefully it starts. No. I just went to turn it over there and there's no spark. So I believe I've not aligned the inside right. Took it to bits again. This is now a lot closer to the top here. I must have moved something, don't really know. But yeah, I'm having a hard time actually getting it set right. So that's a good sign. Hopefully that's the issue.
No, it's just Chuck Testa.
Okay, I've got this guide. This is the thing that I'm going to be checking next, is the resistance in the coils. So as you can see from the thing on the screen, there's ohms ratings that these need to be within. So I'm going to check that with a multimeter and see if anything's broken internally in here. That's in spec. That's in spec. There we go. So we're all in spec. That's good. Gonna take a no-nonsense approach. So I've kind of got this to the best of my ability. I've been using folded up bits of paper basically to shim it. Not great, not good, but it seems a lot better, seems a lot more even. But interesting development here. This rotor arm, as you can see, I've been scratching away at it. No continuity at all in the middle of the rotor arm there. So that little kind of coppery patch that you can see was just complete and utter darkness. So I've been sanding it for ages and now there's a bit of continuity. So yeah, before there was no continuity, but now there is some pretty good continuity. But if I put that on the edge there, so we're in the middle, and on the edge, no continuity. So I'm going to sand the living hell out of this, probably take it out of tolerance. And fingers crossed that's been the problem the whole time.
Nope.
Interesting discovery. If you look at this in north side of the magnet, and a little thing, you can see a big open bit, then a little mark where that thing's been, and then you flip that magnet over, there isn't a mark. So it's got to kind of go that way, you would say, north side facing down. Well, I think the problem is that I accidentally pulled out the magnet, looked at it, cleaned it, put it back in. North on this side was facing up. And if you look at the markings on the magnet, and the markings on here, it's two circles. This side doesn't have two circles, but that side does. And that was facing up. I might have this magnet in the wrong way. Let's hope it's that. Cool. Because the thing I was checking was that these magnets can crack, and these actually seem okay. There's a little bit of a hairline crack there, but it hasn't cracked all the way through. So I'm going to stick it back together and let's hope that's it. Breathe some of these fumes in. Oh yeah, smells good. The distributor's been on for quite a while. Car drives pretty okay, starts out okay now, and it doesn't seem to leak oil, so that's good from the distributor anyways. So I guess the outer seal was fine, and then the inner seal was leaking a little bit, but my main leak was the valve cover, as you've probably seen in that video. So yeah, there's a little misfire when it's warm now, which I'm putting down to that rotor arm and the cap. They've never been changed in my ownership anyways, so that'll be something I need to do later on. What a headache that turned into anyways. There's ways of troubleshooting a distributor if it's been funny and playing up. Cool, hope this helps somebody. I should probably start asking people to subscribe.